take action, they would not be bound by that same 30-day due process that the U.S. Figure Skating Association has come up against. Tracy?
Pat, Tanya obviously not there today. Did any of the members have any comment on her not showing up?
No, only that they noticed that she was not here. John Bennett, the Portland attorney who was hired by the Figure Skating Association to gather evidence, was here, and Detective McNelly also was here. I called the attorney for Harding, Mr. Weaver's office, tried to find out what sort of explanation they had or what reason they would give for not coming out. They had no comment. Larry, Tracy?
All right, thank you, Pat.
Well, Tanya Harding's attorneys say it would be wrong for the U.S. Olympic Committee to take Tanya off the team. They say the committee should be an advocate for athletes, not a prosecutor.
Meantime, the real prosecutors aren't giving up. They're still scrutinizing Harding's role in the Kerrigan incident. Nancy Francis joins us from the Multnomah County Courthouse with the latest on that. Nancy?
Tracy and Larry will remember that earlier this week, Tanya Harding's ex-husband made a plea bargain, and part of the deal was that he would further cooperate with investigators. Well, today, Jeff Gillooly was back at the offices of the FBI. While Tanya Harding made her daily skating appearance at Clackamas Town Center, her ex-husband, Jeff Gillooly, made another appearance at the Portland office of the FBI.
I have nothing else to say.
Nothing to say to the media, perhaps, but he spent 3 hours with investigators looking into Harding's possible involvement in the attack on Nancy Kerrigan. Investigators officially say only that the investigation is continuing. As for additional charges,
Nothing new.
a key piece of evidence could be the handwriting on this envelope found in a Northwest Portland dumpster. The scribbles include the name, address, and telephone number of the Massachusetts skating rink where Kerrigan practices. The FBI is expected to study handwriting samples from Harding and Gillooly. One of Harding's attorneys is downplaying the significance of the writing, even if it is proven to be Harding.
It continues to be our position that there is a reasonable explanation for all of this that's consistent with innocence.
It's highly unlikely that Harding's guilt or innocence would be determined before the Olympics open next week. There's speculation that the prosecution is waiting to take action until after the games. But the chief prosecutor will say only that investigators will take the time they need to be thorough.
We're not involved in the decision on the Olympics. We're conducting a criminal investigation, and we're going to try to do that in a fair and impartial manner. And we're not on the Olympic timetable. That's not our responsibility.
Asked when additional charges might be filed, prosecutor Norm Frink said not this week, maybe next week, or the week after that, or the week after that, or the week after that. So they're leaving it pretty open-ended. By the way, opening ceremonies for the Olympics are scheduled for a week from tomorrow, so it's getting nearer. Tracy, Larry?
Pressure's definitely on. Thank you, Nancy.
A freelance writer says that Harding called her a week before the attack to find out where Kerrigan trained. An FBI affidavit quotes writer Vera Morano as saying Harding wanted to find out where Kerrigan trained and whether Kerrigan owned property on Cape Cod. The writer says Harding told her she needed the information to settle a bet. Morano says she left some of that information on Harding's answering machine, and Harding later called back to confirm it.
Interestingly enough, that writer's story seems to be backed up by, of all things, garbage from Harding and Gillooly's household. That's what investigators say.
The handwritten notes apparently refer to the arena where Kerrigan trains and the words Cape Cod. Reporter Tom Fuller had a handwriting expert look at those notes.
We look for that measurement to repeat in the question documents.
Jacqueline Joseph is a Portland handwriting expert. She agreed to compare the writing on the envelope found in Northwest Portland to court documents submitted in Clackamas County by Tanya Harding.
At this point, with the amount of time I've spent, and given the fact that I'm looking at photocopies, I'd be unable to be conclusive in an opinion at this time.
Even though Joseph says she can't make a firm determination based on what we showed her, there are a couple of interesting similarities, she says, between the two documents. One involves the final D. Notice the inverted V shape at the end. It can also be found on a known example of Tanya's writing in the word award. Another is the final S.
One of the unusual features that may identify a writer in this particular case is the relative size of the final S in the word Dennis, and it also repeats in the word lesson. So looking at more of handwriting that was represented as Tanya's handwriting, I looked to see if there are any other final S's that might be larger than the size of the mid-zone letters. And here's an example in the word follows.
But, says Joseph, one thing she can say, it wasn't just one person who wrote on that envelope.
It does appear that more than one person could have written this.
Joseph says it would take as many as 12 hours of study with many examples of a person's writing to determine if Tanya's hand penned the incriminating words on that trashed envelope. I'm Tom Fuller, News 8.
Our handwriting expert says there are a number of characteristics in Tanya's known handwriting that would make identification possible if more examples of her writing were available, or if she could see the original envelope. By the way, that envelope is in the hands of the FBI tonight.
It's fascinating.
Yes, it is.
Well, Harding's ex-husband has been talking to the FBI, but he hasn't had much else to say until now. In an exclusive interview with A Current Affair tonight on Channel 8, Jeff Gillooly talks about Harding and his role in the Kerrigan conspiracy.
People are interested in your feelings for Tanya at this point. How are you feeling about her?
Well, I always have great feelings for Tanya. Tanya is the finest figure skater that ever walked the earth. That's all there is to it. Male or female, she's the best. It's an unfortunate situation for all of us.
Jeff,
I feel bad for her.
Your lawyer went so far as to say that you would have fallen on the sword, but you think she sold you out. You would have fallen on the sword for her. Do you think that she sold you out?
No. I mean, it was always, we knew that if things got really bad, that's the way it would be. I would take the blame.
You can see that exclusive interview in its entirety tonight on A Current Affair. That's here on Channel 8 beginning at 7 o'clock.
An unusual radio show today let folks in Portland and in Boston sound off at each other.
The idea was to link radio listeners in Tanya Harding's hometown with folks on Nancy Kerrigan's turf. It happened this morning on 1190 KEX. Walden Kirsch went by the studio to listen in.
Bob Miller Show, and we're on the air with WRKO in Boston.
Bob Miller of KEX fielded the calls, along with the radio guy back in Boston.
What people here are wondering, of course, is how people in Portland view Tanya Harding at this point.
Radio listeners here in Harding land dialed up quickly.
I firmly believe she would throw her career away for just something like that. I think it's her husband framing her.
But back in Kerrigan country, they were blunter about Harding, less flattering.
Second of all, she says I'm going to kick her butt. No athlete with any respect who represents the country says that. People should compete with honesty and freedom and respect for another, not to kick somebody's butt.
Both Bob Miller and his counterpart tried for fireworks with limited success.
For that reason alone, she should not be allowed to skate.
What do you think, Ray?
What do you think, Ray?
I still disagree.
No one got to shouting. This wasn't Limbaugh or Stern. Still, the audience in Boston was more willing to shoot from the lip.
What if Tanya Harding was the one that was corrupt by Nancy Kerrigan's people? I think they'd feel the same way that we do. They'd be disgusted.
From this side of the continent...
That's another thing. People are forgetting about the Europeans. I mean, we're assuming that it's going to be Harding and Kerrigan and no one else is going to show, and it's not going to work like that.
Call that a reality check on a story that seems to grow less real almost every day now. I'm Walden Kirsch, News 8.
Now, an amazing number of people heard that show. Adding up the Portland and Boston radio audiences, almost 700,000 people listened in.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Harding has found some hometown support from Beaverton-based Nike, but Nike says it's not trying to gain something from doing this. On Monday, Nike chairman Phil Knight pledged $25,000 to help fund Harding's fight to skate in the Olympics. Nike says the pledge has nothing to do with the fact that Nancy Kerrigan has an endorsement contract with Nike's rival, Reebok. A Nike spokesman says Phil Knight is not making any judgment about Harding. He was just getting tired of all the Tanya bashing, and he wanted to defend her right to compete.
The champion ice skater is supporting Tanya Harding. Olympic freestyle champion Elizabeth Manley knows Harding. She says she can't believe that Harding could be involved in the attack.
The Tanya that I knew, I just have a really hard time believing that she could do this, and it's really frustrating for me to sit back and listen to all the talk and all the hoo-ha on her.
The other main player in all of this, Nancy Kerrigan, takes to the ice tonight for her first public skating performance since the attack.
And her coach says she wants to get rid of the butterflies. Here's Carl Stevens.
This is the grand ballroom that tonight will feature the graceful steps of a solitary dancer. Nancy Kerrigan and friends will feature 15 separate acts, wrapping up with the local favorite, and it's sold out.
Well, it's a little expensive for a college student. $35 goes a long way for us, so it's kind of hard to blow it in one night.
Yeah, I think it would have been nice to see her back on the ice.
But you can't go, it's sold out.
Yeah, I know. I didn't even know where to buy tickets if I had the money.
Even though these and many other students did not get tickets, Northeastern University officials say they're proud to be the site of Nancy's coming out party.
It's a great honor for us to be able to host Nancy's return to the ice. I mean, we couldn't be more pleased that Nancy's going to celebrate, I think, with the entirety of New England, and then on TV tomorrow night for the world, her return to skating.
Historic Matthews Arena has the world's oldest artificial ice rink, and workers have been putting in plenty of extra hours getting the place ready.
We really got going Monday as far as the operation went. And, during the daytime, we had our regular activities, high school hockey, public skating, hockey practice, and at night we did the work, whatever we could arrange.
Nancy arrived here with a phone in her ear, but tonight she will communicate quietly with the wordless grace that is hers alone. Carl Stevens, News 8.
Last night, Kerrigan watched some other people on the ice, the Boston Bruins hockey team. The crowd gave her a standing ovation, and the Bruins gave her a team jersey. Kerrigan will be holding a news conference following tonight's performance, and we will hear what she says tonight on News 8 at 11.
Well, the man who helped keep Tanya Harding in costume says he is standing right behind her. Chet Jones owns a fabric and costume supply shop. He's been providing materials for Tanya's costume since she was a little girl. Right now, Harding's Olympic costume is being put together. Well, this hasn't always been a profitable venture for Jones, more of a sponsorship, you might call it, in recent years.
Her mother was working 2 jobs, trying to pay for ice time and lessons, and that's very, very expensive. So when you have to come up with the money to buy costuming and to be able to satisfy what the judges are expecting you to wear as a top-notch competitor, you're talking about a lot of money that it takes to provide that kind of thing.
Asked for his opinion on the Nancy Kerrigan attack, Jones didn't hesitate. He says Tanya wasn't involved, and he'd sell his store if he had to help her out.
Some odds makers are betting that Nancy